Have you ever looked at the stars and had that feeling that someone up there was watching you too? Ever wondered how, with billions of galaxies like ours in the cosmos, we could possibly be alone? Ever thought what would happen if an alien race made contact with us? Or worse still, if they invaded and took over the planet? Well, get ready, because all those questions are about to be answered in First Contact, a brand new blockbusting science fiction action adventure coming soon to cinemas across the galaxy. Country.
Here we go. Quiet, please. Roll it. C marker. Action!
In this exclusive preview, we'll be finding out some of the story, talking to the cast and crew, and taking a look at some incredible special effects sequences, so complicated that they're not quite finished yet. We'll also be flashing up additional information in data blasts, like this. You can read them by rewinding your video and using the pause button to freeze on those particular frames. Then, at the end, we'll be asking you questions in an exclusive Star Trek competition, where you could win thousands of pounds worth of prizes.
All right, let's get ready for the picture. Stand by, please.
First Contact primarily features the cast of the smash hit movie Star Trek Generations, including Patrick Stewart as Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Set a course for Earth. Maximum warp.
LeVar Burton as Chief Engineer Geordie LaForge.
Bridge, we have a new problem!
Michael Dorn as Commander Worf. Gates McFadden as the ship's doctor, Beverly Crusher.
All right, let's move them out. Let's go.
Marina Sirtis as Counselor Deanna Troi.
Your family history is very important to you.
Brent Spiner as the sophisticated android Data.
Yes!
And Jonathan Frakes as Commander William T. Riker, who also makes his debut as a feature film director with the new movie.
Action. Engage.
But while the new film borrows elements from the rich 30-year history of Star Trek, First Contact is no ordinary Star Trek movie. For one thing, Captain Kirk is history. And even the old Enterprise has gone to the breaker's yard.
Well, they're all blaming me because I was driving, but I think the planet we crashed into just came out of nowhere. I don't know where it came from.
Star Trek First Contact is the first of a new breed, cutting loose from the original film and television series with a brand new Starship Enterprise and a thrilling story that will have you on the edge of your seat. In First Contact, the future history of mankind is under threat from an alien race called the Borg. Computer, give me everything you have on the Borg, and I don't want to hear about Swedish tennis players.
The Borg are these beings that are half human and half machine.
There was always something unsettling about a half-human, half-machine.
Well, they look almost human, and that's, I think, what makes them most scary. That you feel, could that have been me?
They're very threatening. They're kind of scary. They're more like a swarm than a specific individual. They fly in cube-like ships that are quite impenetrable. And they're a group that savagely assimilate worlds and people like a swarm of ants going across a picnic table.
They assimilate everything in their paths and say, we want you to be like us, and we're right, and we don't care about your point of view or anything.
It looks like the control deck's 26 up to 11.
They'll assimilate the Enterprise, and then Earth.
They're unstoppable. They're able to adapt to almost any weapon within seconds. They're very technologically advanced.
The Borg are clearly not pleasant folks.
I think the Borg are the coolest bad guys we've ever met on Star Trek.
Apparently, the idea for the film originated with an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation called The Best of Both Worlds, in which the Borg kidnap Captain Picard and make him one of their own.
Jean-Luc.
Picard was abducted by the Borg, taken onto their ship, and was partially assimilated, not fully, as we were to discover. He managed to hold on to some aspects of his identity.
I am Locutus of Borg. Resistance is futile. Your life, as it has been, is over. From this time forward, you will service us.
It was emotionally and mentally disturbing for someone who was so used to command and authority, who became simply a tool of another civilization.
Locutus.
In the new movie, the Borg have set their sights on a somewhat larger prize than the good captain.
They assimilate entire worlds, and we fall back. Not again. The line must be drawn here.
First Contact is a story about the Borg invading planet Earth.
Set a course for Earth. Maximum warp.
They use a very specific technique they have to travel back to an earlier time.
I must follow them back. Repair whatever damage they've done.
It seems that the Borg plan to go back in time to the 21st century when a brilliant scientist by the name of Zefram Cochrane makes the first faster-than-light journey.
Let's rock and roll!
Zefram Cochrane represents to the post-21st century what perhaps the Wright brothers, the aviators, represent to us in the 20th century.
He's the guy who started the whole idea of our being able to travel faster than light, which means our being able to get to other worlds.
They were firing at the surface. Location.
Western Hemisphere. North American continent. It's like a missile complex in central Montana.
Data, I need to know the exact date.
April 4th, 2063. The day before first contact.
That's what they came here to do. Stop first contact.
The Borg figure that if they can stop Cochrane from making his inaugural flight, then they can prevent mankind from ever making first contact with other races and wipe us out in the process. Although I haven't actually got that far in the script yet.
Let me just make sure that I understand you correctly. Cybernetic creatures have traveled back through time to enslave the human race. And you're here to stop them?
That's right.
Cochrane is played by Oscar-nominated actor James Cromwell. He was Farmer Hoggett in the film Babe.
He's a rocket scientist. And he's sort of a maverick. Sort of a loose cannon, you know, a throwback to the 1960s. And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
When we were creating the character of Zefram Cochrane, we always had Jamie in our head. And then Babe came along, and all of a sudden he was nominated for an Academy Award, and we thought, oh my God, we're not going to get him. He's too big for us now. And because we had worked with him on a number of occasions before, we were delighted that he did, in fact, take the role.
For the crew of the Enterprise, meeting Cochrane is rather like someone from the 20th century going back in time and meeting Leonardo da Vinci and finding out what he was really like.
We've set up statues to him and named schools after him by the 24th century. He's just the regular guy who happens to be really smart, but he's not this heroic figure that we all imagine him to be.
We all grew up hearing about what you did here.
Really?
You're standing almost on the exact spot where your statue's gonna be.
Statue?
Oh, yeah.
He is somewhat reluctant. He's a very, very reluctant hero.
And because I am the counselor and an empath and the one that's supposed to be able to deal with people better than anybody else, they send me down to Earth to meet with him.
Troy's real pretty, so, hey, it never hurts, right? So I introduced her to tequila. Of sorts, it's sort of a home brew and rock and roll. May she rest in peace.
To see Counselor Troy under the influence of 5 or 6 shots of tequila is worth the price of admission alone.
Now, wait a minute. I thought Zefram Cochrane already had a woman friend. That's right. She's Lily Sloan, played by another Oscar nominee, Alfre Woodard.
I got a script, and so I read it, but within the first 10 pages, I was hooked, and I was reading like I was reading narrative, like I was reading a book, and it was thrilling, it was exciting, and you find yourself like really pulling for people.
Alfre's character is rescued from 21st century Montana during the Borg attack and taken aboard the Enterprise, which was built 3 centuries after her time.
She doesn't know where she is when she's on the Enterprise. She believes she's still somewhere in Montana, and she's creating so many problems for Picard because she will not accept what he keeps telling her, that she's on a spaceship.
You want to help me get me out of here?
I think she's a bit of a romantic adventurer, but she's been trapped by her circumstance and where she lives. Once she gets comfortable with Picard, I think she's in awe of this ship. I mean, this ship is like, you've died and gone to heaven.
The incredibly impressive new Starship Enterprise is just one of the spectacular effects created by Industrial Light and Magic for First Contact, which, like Independence Day, contains some of the most awesome, mind-blowing special effects ever put on film.
Well, one of the keys to any science fiction movie, and Star Trek is no different, is having wonderful visual effects. And we live in a time now where one movie after another is outdoing the previous one.
There are over 200 opticals in the film, so needless to say, it's going to give the audience what they're expecting in the visual effects department.
I can think it's going to be both astonishing and frightening to see the finished results. ILM, yes, have been with us on this movie almost every day on the set. There is so much that they're involved in.
They've just done spectacular work for us.
Spectacular, but also very beautiful.
Many of these scenes are still being worked on, so you're really getting a sneak preview of some of the action from the film. Here's one of the movie's key sequences, which takes place outside the ship. It was decided to film these scenes at full scale, requiring a massive set to be built.
So much is now being done electronically in the way sets look, you know. But our sets were there. They were built.
How are you doing, Mr. Worf?
Not well, sir.
Try not to look at the stars. Keep your eyes on the hull.
It's a tiny detail on the ship, but because our ship is so big, it's a huge space.
I mean, it's big. I mean, we're on a big stage and it's a big set. But once the boys at the special effects people get their hands on it, it's going to be a spectacular scene.
I had one particular scene when I pushed off and kind of did an aerial acrobatic flight across the top of the station, which was actually done by controlling us on wires. I'd never flown before in the sense of flying, you know, and it was a lot of fun.
First Contact uses a dazzling combination of computer-generated effects, miniatures, and, as you just saw, full-scale sets. But not all of them are designed to represent the future. The new Enterprise is fitted with a virtual reality device called the holodeck. The holodeck can simulate any environment or recreate any era in history with incredible accuracy. For example, right now, I'm in the holodeck on board the Enterprise in what is a remarkably realistic recreation of a late 20th century television studio. Are you with the film crew or with the Enterprise crew? Using the holodeck, Picard and his crew have travelled virtually everywhere, from Victorian England
Interesting.
to the Old West.
Looks like Sheriff Worf's here to arrest me.
To the deck of an 18th century ship.
Remove the plank!
Now First Contact finds Picard and Lily attempting to escape the Borg in a recreation of the 1940s.
Perhaps something is set.
And they are suddenly whisked into a scene from the 1940s in a nightclub with the big band on the stage and dancing and mobsters and the whole bit.
Well, look what the cat dragged in. What's shaking, Dix?
The usual, Nick. Martinis and skirts. Excuse me.
It was great. It was like running into the holodeck because suddenly we were in another film for several days.
Hey, beautiful. How about a drink?
Hold it, Buster. She's with me.
Alfred is dressed in a dazzling off-the-shoulder kind of bronze-colored gown. And she and I get to boogie a little in the scene because there's a dance sequence in it, too.
Dancing, the explosions, the Borg, the Borg goes up in smoke, the Tommy gun, Patrick looking like 007, Alfred in the gorgeous gold lame.
Fran, look as if you're having a good time.
I think for Lily, she loses herself in that moment.
I do act naturally.
That was a movie magic day.
Cut!
That's great.
Now, it's taken me a while to work all this out, as you can see, but I think I've got it right now. The movie starts in the 24th century. Then we follow the Borg back to the 21st century. There's a holodeck simulation, which takes place in the 1940s. And, of course, the movie's released in 1996, which leaves us very nearly out of time. But we do just have a few moments left to ask the cast and crew if they can tell us a bit more about the film.
We do have a large number of Star Trek, original Star Trek fans, Trekkies that have been with us for decades. But we also have a lot of people. Well, I never watched science fiction before, and now I do. And so for them, for that group of people who just like, exciting stuff, I think it's going to be wonderful.
It's going to be interesting from different points of view, special effects wise, and to see the Borg and all of the action and the story and all of that.
The action stuff, I think, will speak for itself.
I think it's just going to be a good entertainment, a really exciting and interesting entertainment. I think it's a good story. I think it's been shot wonderfully and performed very well, and it should be enjoyable.
Though you cannot separate anything in this movie from the enjoyment aspect or the creative aspect without mentioning our director, Jonathan Frakes.
It's an action-adventure movie. It's a romance.
Are you familiar with physical forms of pleasure?
I am fully functional.
How long has it been since you've used them?
8 years, 7 months, 16 days, 4 minutes.
Can I call you back? I'm busy right now. Okay. It's just time to give you a glimpse of some of the Star Trek goodies we'll be giving away in our competition at the end of the show. Now, I hope that you haven't been paying attention, otherwise I'll have to part with this Pioneer Laserdisc player and this, as well as the entire back catalogue of Star Trek videos from CIC and books from Simon & Schuster. First Contact is released to coincide with the 30th anniversary of the Star Trek phenomenon. So much for Captain Kirk's original 5-year mission. And while the new movie has many of the elements that have helped to keep the Star Trek torch burning throughout those 30 years, First Contact is Star Trek with an edge. A dark, threatening vision of one possible, unthinkable future. After all, an alien invasion could happen at any time. It might already have happened. Any one of us could be turned into a Borg at any time. No one is safe. Anyone can be assimilated. Resistance is futile. Resistance is futile.